Old World, Florida.
Old World, Florida.
Old World, Florida. Dude, I'm telling you, dude. Dr. Narco Longo came on and dropped the hammer of the god.
America's mother, daughter of Atlantis. God sent the weatherland. The devil sent the Spanish. Florida is Eden, the fountain of youth. Cali is deception. So Florida is the truth.
Welcome to Florida, baby.
Dr. Narco Longo.
Florida, it is everything. There's too much truth bombs being dropped. I can't digest it all.
Old World, Florida.
Please welcome Dr. Narco Longo.
Howdy.
Yo.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Hey, didn't see you there. Sorry. Oh,
Good evening. We're joined by Juan, longtime friend of the channel, practically a co-host at this point, I guess you could say. And tonight we're joined by Doenut from the Doenut Factory YouTube channel, right? And Juan's, I think you could probably do him a bit more justice on the intro. So, how would you introduce your friend Doenut here?
he has an intro that he does on his own, bro. You want to do it, Donut? I mean, he's
Yo,
like,
what up? It's Doenut, and you tuning in to Illuminati News.
There you go. That's it, bro. The man, the myth, the legend, Donut.
I love
going
the
on?
dolphins in the intro. I've been really looking into the dolphins, the connections to it, and to the occult, and it just goes so deep. Like, did you know that the Mars Attacks aliens, their brains are the brains of a dolphin? They look very similar. And there was these studies with dolphins so they could communicate with extraterrestrials in the ocean. So dolphins are amazing.
Okay,
They're also crazy.
Can I jump in here?
Already, right off the bat.
So first, thank you for being here, Donut. For real, he's got a great channel. Go check him out. He covers, ceremonial, ritualistic magic in the media and current events and stuff like that. But all around good content as well. So go check him out. Dolphins. I was just watching something. Terrence McKenna talking with some guy in Prague. It wasn't Ram Dass. That's a famous talk that he did in Prague, but I think it was left on the cutting room floor. But it's in some YouTube videos now, and I don't know the guy's name, but he's talking about dolphins and water births, right? And he was basically saying, so shout out water birthing. I know there's a lot of like mama bears in the chat that follow me, and holistic minded parents and stuff who know the benefits of water birthing. But you want to hear some crazy shit? Okay, you want to know what the key component that's missing in water births, in my opinion, as a professional doctor, dolphins. This sounds like a joke, right? Okay. There's substantial evidence to show that in Eastern Asia, Europe, in ancient Greece, how much they were interacting with dolphins. Well, back before that, there's even evidence that all water births in certain communities, so all births in general, would be water births. But then these water birth cults or societies would always, they were like dolphin herders, porpoise herders. So, like the dolphin was your husky or your sheep herder. It was like man's best friend. It was right there. It was living alongside the people. So blah blah blah. The real guts of like this research was that they were getting babies, okay, to grow up alongside dolphins that could swim. I swear to God, put this on them, not me. 60 miles at only a couple months old. They could swim 60 miles, like keep themselves above water and keep a trajectory.
You're talking about a baby.
A baby.
Wow.
Under a year old, being raised with dolphins. Okay? This was like a huge, big team of like, European scientists. And they were saying when human babies are inspired around, it's kind of like the wolf child scenario, or like a Tarzan type. But this was real. And the dolphins dolphinately had an effect on human development, right? So go look it up, Terrence McKenna. I don't know if it's clipped because it was part of a larger thing. And he was going into all the benefits of water births, but there was a big portion on dolphins.
Right.
I've also heard that it helps with the baby's IQ, that the baby who is birthed through, right, this dolphin water birth has a higher IQ for whatever reason. And again, I've heard it put before, because, right, we're going to probably talk about Atlantis today, that the dolphins could have been like the remnants of the people from Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that before. Like, they're super advanced for what they are. The only thing that they're missing is the thumbs, right? They can't manipulate their world around them. Therefore, they can't take over the world, or have they already?
Well, there's also, there's evidence all across the world in some instances, well, not the world, but where horses have been introduced and where they're native, but, regardless, there's many tribes who will live alongside horses and just go, I'm not dealing with that. Like, we're good just tending to our corn and our, little peppers and hunting boar every once in a while, and we're better off in the jungle. The horse doesn't serve us whatsoever. So mankind as a whole, with the exception of like marine biologists who are probably running off this ancestral DNA, who are just obsessed with getting in the water with these things, most of humanity is probably in a type of amnesia like that, where we have no recollection of a coexistence with them. I see a world, I've peered deep into the abyss in the haze of hashish smoke in my laboratories, pondering how mankind, otters are like perfect dogs. They're like whiskers and everything. They're literally dogs. Dogs. They're like ferrets. Like water ferrets, water weasels. Then the sea lions or the sea otters are like...
How cute is that?
Yeah. They're the equivalent of a weasel or a ferret or a, something like that. Even a wolverine, maybe. They're mean. Those things are mean.
They hold hands too, so they don't float apart.
I can tell you why it's called otter. They're called otter for Odin.
Oh, really?
Odin. Mercury, yeah. Otter. Odin. Small.
Really?
All small animals are generally ruled by Mercury. This is where you get the word mini. Gemini. Is where you get all mini words. Gemini.
Well, I heard that dolphins, through an Instagram meme, so you know it's credible, know where Atlantis is. So that's why it's illegal to communicate if they're not in SeaWorld or in some sort of park. We're not allowed to, they say, harass the dolphins, although 33 people were harassing dolphins. And, rest in peace to the 5 dolphins that were just whacked at one of these SeaWorld places in Florida. which makes me kind of 5 of them, just like Jack the Ripper had the 5 victims, just like the Night Stalker always put the 5 pentagram. So it seems sort of ritualistic to me. But John Lilly, very similar to Terrence McKenna, was doing these experiments with the dolphins, and they built such a nice connection with them that once he ended it, they stopped eating until their death. So they didn't even want to live anymore. That's how connected they were with humans.
Damn.
I was gonna wait for him to be done before I pulled this
Okay,
up.
sorry.
My wife was telling me that she's seen this orca before. I didn't know that in Miami there was an orca that is gonna be, it's set to be released, and there's like this whole thing going on. It's like you can't release. I mean, again, it's a killer whale, so I think maybe it's instinct. It's gonna already know what to do when it's in the wild, because these things are pretty mean.
Yeah.
But will it be able to survive if they release it or not?
Was it born in captivity?
I'm not sure, but it's spent more than 5 decades in captivity, but it's 50 years in captivity. I mean, it's been there for a long time, and I don't know if this one murked anybody or not, but I could have swore there was like a 33 somewhere in this article, and that's why I had pulled it up. But she is currently about 57 years old.
Lolita is an interesting name too.
Yeah, Lolita. Exactly. This is in Miami, so.
I feel like she's just gonna keep coming back to people. That's my first instinct. I could be wrong.
She was captured from the waters of Washington's Puget Sound in 1970, and she is currently 57. So she was caught when she was, if she's been in captivity for 5 decades, and she was 7 years old when they caught her. So that's a long time, bro. And they live for, I don't even know how long they live for, but there was like this whole thing about this in Miami Seaquarium. I didn't even know. And in Atlanta, the aquarium in Atlanta, they have whale sharks, bro. I didn't even know that. You know how big a whale shark is, and these people have whale sharks in captivity?
Atlantis.
It's wild, bro. Wow.
ATL, Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what I was going to say. Just dolphins in general. Paranoid American was showing me imagery of the cult of Tenet, of the dolphins, and that imagery, and how that could even link back to what we see of the Eye of Providence in the pyramid. That is the Mars attacks flag as well. The Martians.
The cult of what you say? Tenet?
Oh yeah, just the goddess Tenet is depicted with dolphins.
Yeah, no, I can't find it. I was just trying to find a picture of it, but I think that, right, the water around Florida is important, and I kind of wanted to, maybe I'll wait a little bit before I bring my stuff up, because it's got to do with the water and summoning certain things. So, but yeah, no, the dolphins are an interesting take because they're so smart, and their brains, right? They got like 2 brains, one on top of the other.
They're the most similar to a human brain in size.
Have you guys ever seen this?
No.
Ancient soldiers on dolphin back riding into war.
That's dope.
I think this was commonplace in the ancient world. If you would have ships going head to head and dolphins in between, people going off and skirmishes and stuff. They depict this multiple times. It's on coins.
Wow.
Now, maybe a bottlenose dolphin might not be big enough, but there's something in between those and killer whales,
They have dolphins in the Amazon, bro. They got like pink dolphins. You ever seen those?
The pink ones, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they go right up to you too.
There was just a white dolphin reported too that I saw.
Yeah, look, the Amazon River dolphin. It's like this pink, weird looking dolphin. I mean, it's really weird looking. And again, I mean, the Amazon is a weird place too, right? It's another planet pretty much. It's another dimension, if you will. And they go up to you. I mean, they'll go right up to you. Let me pull my screen up real quick.
Yeah,
there it is right there.
Oh, nice.
See, it's a different type of dolphin.
Yeah,
And then
I'm
you
really interested in different animals, whether that's the bunny rabbit, the year of the rabbit, or the dolphins, or phoenix, right? The double-headed phoenix, going back to the Hittites, which I believe there's a big connection to Atlantis there.
well,
Um,
real quick, Donut, because you've talked about Biden and the Bident.
mhm. I got
Is
that
there
slide. I can show.
is there a Poseidon connection anywhere there, Narco,
Absolutely.
with like with the trident? And right, we're talking about dolphins. You have Russia using what, whales or something like that. They're trying to weaponize
Hmm.
whales
Yep.
or dolphins.
The military uses dolphins as uh, they use them. They're like military dolphins, just like a dog, like a canine. And Biden sounds a lot like Bident. And during Pluto's return on 222, you got Rick Ross in room 222, out there in Florida. Pluto is connected with the Bident. And Poseidon, I'm interested in knowing what Doctor has to say about it. But the trident is connected to Poseidon. I got an image of that. And I believe that it's connected to what's going on right here. So Biden is the Bident, and the trident is the three prongs. Pluto is the two prongs. So I think that's similar to like a double pitchfork, maybe. But the Greek alphabet, it ends with the omega right here at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. You got Trump's Mar-a-Lago. It's a big omega on the dollar bill. It's a big omega. And I think through water, internet outages, and whatnot is coming in 2024, because 2024 is omega, which is connected to Jupiter right here, which is the 2-4. Shout out to Waters. He showed me that. But X is the 24th letter, and X is associated with Elon and Tesla. And Elon is associated with Florida as well.
Mm-hmm.
You got X-Men, X-Files. It's all connected to Jupiter. Right here is Zeus, who is known as the oak tree. Elon means oak tree right here. So I believe that they are portraying different gods. Like Dr. Longo was bringing up Odin. Even the show Wednesday is for Odin, Woden, which is Woden. I believe it goes into the etymology of aroused spirituality when I was looking into it. But this trident is different than the Biden. I'm just trying to show the USB port, the port of Miami, streaming video. It's all water surfing the World Wide Web. And the symbols are all over the place. So that's the Poseidon one, which is the 3. But Biden, as you were showing in that slide, is the 2, which is Pluto. And he went to war on Tuesday on 22222.
He's a Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto. Biden. And Kamala, if I'm not mistaken, she's also a Scorpio. So they're both Plutonian. Pluto rules viruses and pandemics.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No, really?
Of course, Pluto. Yeah.
So, okay, all right. This is a question I wanted to ask you, because right now we can see, right, the emperor has no clothes, right?
Right there, there's cheeks on that.
got them cheeks out, boy. If let's say that, because one of the things that you've always talked about, Narco, that really piqued my interest is
here. Pluto rules nudity. Why? Because he's also Anubis. So things are new, born anew. Pluto rules transformation, regeneration, death, rebirth, to be born anew. So that's why he's Anubis, and he rules nudity. Pluto is where you get the word lewd. So lewd, Pluto. Pluto rules all disgusting and also like sexy and kink and dark
and sniffing
and
people, right?
Vices, and so that's where Scorpio gets that influence, is from Pluto. So the word lewd, if all lewd things, lewd comedy, lewd topics, go to Pluto, and also to loot from the underground, to pull things up from the earth. That's Pluto as well.
And you could say that his son is also Biden, his Biden, and he's very lewd character on the world stage.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so, let's say one of the things that you've talked about before, Narco, that really interests me is how certain characters, right, of this world stage wear their astrological attributes on themselves, right, to portray and to emanate outwards and use it as a sort of talisman, right? You talked about the one that really blew my mind was Salvador Dali with his little mustache,
Sure.
right? Taurus. Who is Biden trying to put out there using his astrological sign? What is the sniffing people part of like that thing where he
It
needs
is.
to?
It is, because scent. Where does the word scent come from? Why is there a C in the word scent? Ska. So skunk, musk, all these ska words come from Pluto and Scorpio. Skeet, skank, scoundrel, scour, scourge, scorch. Yes.
So
Scent, in part, is ruled by Scorpio.
he can't even help it if he wanted.
So he's a sniffer, yeah.
Because again, if this is something that if this is a technology that they're tapping into, right? Let's just say, because JP Morgan, right? That one quote, what is it? Millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. If we're to believe that he had that watch, the pocket watch that weighed almost 1.5 pounds or something, made of solid gold, that had
Like
the
5 hands or 7 hands.
So they're interested in this sort of thing. And I've always wanted to go, what if he is possibly emanating something? What is it that he is? Because let's say that I've always said, if these elites are as smart as we make them out to be, and we give them a lot more credit, why would they put somebody such as this in power, right? That we know there's obviously something wrong, but it could also be that everything is scripted, right? That they need to follow this certain bloodline, this certain alignment of people to get to their whatever they're trying to achieve, because it's alchemy. They have to follow the process and trust the process, because they're trusting the process right now, because they got, again, the emperor has no clothes. And I think it's evident to everybody. If you can't see it, I don't know what is going to really wake you up. So I've always wondered what it is that he's using to his advantage, other than trying to sniff people, that is, as a talisman or something like that. Because again, he's got to be using something. There's just no way. Is the most popular president ever? Got the most votes ever. This is him. You know what I mean? Like, this is the best we got.
Yeah, I mean, you could go into his name a million different ways. In terms of astrological symbolism, I would say Kamala is a lewd name. Kamala or Kamala. It's Harris, like it's Harris. It's Biden is Hayden. You could go in Hunter, of course, Scorpio. I don't know what Hunter Biden's actual name is, but Scorpio very much has dominion over hunting and penetrating weapons, stuff like that. So there is a dark affiliation to the family. But now I could go into astrological emblems of famous people who, it could be conscious, it could not be conscious, but it benefits these people nonetheless. Take, for example, Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate, what's his symbol? Now, some people might say cobra, but when you watch his show, what's up there on the wall behind him? It's a horse. It's the knight, the chess piece horse. And this is his zodiac sign. He has said out loud that, he's a Sagittarius, the horse, but he's also said that his ascendant is also Sagittarius. So he's a double Sagittarius. He's very much using that to his benefit. It's a source of power, it's a sigil, it's you name it.
Slick Dissident said that Andrew Tate, I was asking him questions about Andrew Tate, and he connected him to I forget which goddess actually. Um, and he was like, he'll be released in spring because it has something to do with the zodiac. And he was released in spring the day the Matrix was released. And the Matrix is the womb, which is a portal as well. And going down the rabbit hole, the rabbit is the portal. It's connected to it. Even CERN has a rabbit for time, one of their Alice projects as well. So many connections to all that.
Yeah, and right when we were on the phone earlier, I asked you where and I know, right, we never went to the moon, or maybe we did, or who knows, but those launches, right, those ceremonies that they did, were they from Florida?
Yes.
Yep.
And they were, right? So that would tie in again. I told Don, I'm like, the phallus of Florida, shooting a phallus into space to penetrate the firmament, and right, the moon, fertility. You have water, the waters.
It's an assault on the feminine. It was a giant R word for the whole world to see. It was the R wording of our universal mother. So
Yeah,
And
they
X
even
marks the spot with SpaceX being in Cape Canaveral, right? So you have that connection there as well, that Elon connection.
I don't know if you watched when this was like a sexy ritual where the phallic went up into space and the virgin went up into space as well. And it just looks very similar. That was an interesting story.
Yeah, that is interesting because again, and then you said something about the Mar-a-Lago being a sign. You said is made in this.
That's the omega, yeah. So the omega symbol, alpha and omega. Omega comes after the trident, Poseidon. Omega is the 24th letter, which is the last. And on the dollar bill, you have the first president, the alpha, and he's in the omega symbol, the alpha and the omega. And Mar-a-Lago, I believe, means like to river or something, water. It's connected to water. I forget.
And water is supposed to be very sexual too, very provocative. Whenever they do a commercial on TV, they try to spray the water. You've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's supposed to invoke a certain type of feeling.
Aroused.
Yeah, arousal, right? I'm supposed to make your nipples hard.
Can you go back to and let me know if my volume's okay, guys. Everyone in the chat.
Say it with your chest.
Someone's saying
Narco.
a little low. No, it's okay. If I project my voice, you guys will get too intimidated.
It starts to crack.
You'll
My name's Narco Longo.
No, I'm just teasing. I'd rather croon from afar with my pipe voice. So
Was it this to bring back up?
no, Juan, you were showing Mar-a-Lago aerial. Could you show the front entrance of Mar-a-Lago, the gate, the arch?
Yes.
Please, with the two blank. Speaking of astrological emblems, Trump
This?
is one. Trump, no. Go around to the front gate by the street, like where a car would drive in on.
Oh, okay. Let me find a picture of it, and then I'll pull it up here.
Please, thank you. So I'll show you that Trump, being a Gemini, he's a total Gemini. He uses that emblem on the front of his house.
This?
Yes.
And
so-
we're in Gemini right now, right? Isn't it a significant Gemini like moon happening? Like
Because he's
this
in
week?
court right now, by the way. He's in.
So hey,
Right.
all those sea grapes on the left are removed right now. So if there's a more recent picture, and you can show a
Even the top of it is
Copyright.
interesting of that, which goes into the four corners, and it looks like the Florida flag as well. The X.
why are you on Alamy, Juan?
Sorry, bro. It's just don't yell at me, Dad. Just trying
There
to
we
find
go.
these.
Perfect.
So this?
Yeah,
this-
I mean that's good. That's good. Yeah. So on the right, you can see it. I guess it's covered in both sides.
What are we looking for? A statue?
Yeah, there's a statue. There's a little kid on one side and a little kid on the other side, and they're on a pole. Like,
There you go.
and I know that sounds bad, but it's not. It's not weird. It's a youth or a youthful man, and then on the other side it's a youthful man. They're twins, it seems like, and they're both on a pole, holding onto a pole. So Gemini rules twins. Gemini. Oh, you want to hear something hilarious? The word Bimini, Florida, Bimini, like search for the fountain of youth in Bimini. Bimini in native language literally means two islands. Bi-mini, two small islands. Bimini. That's another Eurasian
Oh, there it is.
etymological connection. There you go. So there's two men holding on to poles. That would be the twins of Gemini. Trump is declaring his astrological association here and using it as a source of power. They're both on a pole. Why? Because Gemini rules bipolarity. Bipolarity in all things that are polar, meaning two aspects. So the Gemini twin rules polarity, two sides, and that's very much Trump.
Yeah, Gem and I, the bipole. Now, if you see the top right there, the very top, there's that symbol. No, down below it, that symbol, the four corner symbol. No, above.
Just
It's
the
that
square.
the square
on the
with
side.
the cross on it. If you pull up, I've been looking at this for the portal, slide 1 on here. It looks very similar. Oh no, the other one. Slide. It's the other one. Yeah. So it's
We got some other one.
so this four corners I'm looking out for because the Great American Eclipse is going over the four corners. Here's the Bank International Settlements right there on the top left. Stranger Things, which is about CERN and the portals. You even have Buddy Holly's last album, like his poster for his concert was the four corners with that circle in the middle. Right above that, and that's the day that music died. That was his last poster. Right above that is the four corners where this Great American Eclipse will be going over, making the X. And in the Gulf of Mexico, you can see like there's a little portal there, but even the Maya, there's a portal there as well. And in Mexico, I believe there's its own four corners with a portal. So I just saw that on Trump's, and this is a imagery I've been looking at, and it's right there on his thing too. Not sure if there's a connection there or anything, but
I mean, this is literally a portal. I mean, they call this a portal. This archway is literally a portal. So when you open up, you're going through the portal. So that's the name of that. I mean, that's not.
Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So in addition to like polarity, Mercury rules things coming together. This is where all words like merge
and transcending too. He's the messenger of the gods, so he's able to transcend through realities without being penalized. And is he the only one that can do that? That he can go and
well, yeah, he's the messenger, Messiah, Messi, Meri, M-E-R-I, Medi, Messi, all go back to Gemini. So medical, this is the caduceus on the pole as well. That's Virgo, which is the verge. So Gemini and Mercury rules to merge. But then Virgo, which is the last sign before fall, is the verge of the zodiac. Virgo, the verge of the zodiac.
When you said that, as soon as you said that, there was 666 people watching. You said
now
the Messiah.
There's going to be a new moon in Gemini, and Trump, who's a Gemini, is in Florida getting like locked up in a sense, like going to court. Merchant, Mercury merchant. Trump is sort of like a merchant. I don't know. What's your thoughts on this new moon? I don't know when it is. I'm looking it up to see when it is. Oh, June 18th, new moon, Father's Day. I don't know if that's his birthday, but what's the new seed like being planted for Trump? Like, is there a connection there?
I wouldn't have anything really to say about that. I have
Right. So,
not a friend.
but Donnie Darko, we were talking about that a little bit. That was
Mhm.
interesting how that's
Yeah,
connected.
Donnie
Um,
Darko is. I'm not well versed on this whole theory, but Donnie Dark O, the dark O would be a eclipsed sun, or you could look at it as Donald, the dark orange man, dark O, right? But he's represented by the rabbit, like you were going into earlier. But
Mm-hmm.
rabbits are also ruled by Gemini
really?
to an extent, yes, because they rule procreation. Now, you could place that in with Venus because Venus is love, but a lot of people forget um, Mercury rules the commingling of fluids. So ultimately, this is why the cup of alchemy, the cup of Mercury, is placed in the sex chakra, the second chakra of the body. So you have the moon down in the root chakra, and the the second chakra, which is associated with the sex organs, is associated with Mercury. So a lot of people forget Mercury actually does rule the nitty gritty of the creation of life and the commingling of two fluids, so to speak. But
Nice.
yeah,
You know, the Mayan moon goddess is depicted with a bunny, and the moon has a bunny on it. And I was looking at her symbol, and she's holding a cup. It looks like an octopus, sort of, and it's upside down, and all this wetness water is like leaking
yeah.
down. So, with the fertility thing, that makes a lot of
Well,
sense.
the octopus has to do with Scorpio. All
Oh,
arachnids, octopi, eight-limbed creatures, because Scorpio is the eighth limb. Sorry, the eighth limb. Yeah, the eighth limb. The eighth sign of the zodiac. So you have. It's also the extreme predatory in nature of arachnids and octopuses and their craftiness. Octopi are like the genius of the sea. Scorpio is very much a genius of the zodiac. Um, Scorpio is very intelligent, very, very. So
yeah. If you show the slide one, it's got the portal symbolism with the bunny just on the topic of it with Donnie Darko. Donnie Darko, this bunny is traveling through portals. The first abductee by an alien was Bugs Bunny, and there's that portal in the Looney Tunes going down the rabbit hole. Even CERN had that Switzerland event where they were doing that whatever, and there was like a big portal above them in the White Rabbit project at CERN.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just go to the next slide. Just with the, I'm looking out for autumn for more of this fake alien disclosure because 2023 is the year of the rabbit. There's a big connection to rabbits for the Hollywood movie script coming out because I'm always looking at what Hollywood is putting out there for our subconscious minds to accept whatever agenda comes out. This goes back to the 90s with the Rockefellers, who is also connected to Florida, which is interesting. But here's the Mayan moon goddess depicted with the bunny, Ixchil, I think her name is. Um, I just wanted to show that. I don't know if there was anything. I'm looking out for Lunasa, though, for more disclosures. Everything I've been looking into this year has been about the bunny rabbit for the year of the rabbit.
Yeah, and it would be tied up to, right, Cape Canaveral with NASA. Never a straight answer. You got SpaceX in there. They're wanting to go to Mars as well. And I mean, the space stuff and the alien stuff, I would connect it to Florida because it is, right. Where else do they launch rockets from? I think from Texas they also launch rockets from. And do they launch any from California?
well, it's Houston. We have a problem, right? So that's headquarters. I don't know if they launch there. I could be. I have no idea. I've got Florida goggles on, so don't ask me.
So let us know. Some people in the comments are saying something about the audio, but it's being adjusted automatically by StreamYard. Unless, are you Fabio Narco? What's the inside joke there? I don't understand what that is.
He's got a Fabio vibe.
Maybe
Have
he's
you
speaking
seen Fabio? They look
Mm.
identical, bro.
No, bro, I haven't. So let me see if I can. You're being adjusted automatically. Oh, you turned yourself all the way up. All right. Well, maybe that'll do it. But you brought up I see you have the slide pulled up there, and I wanted to bring this up because you were talking. I could have swore, again, this could be Mandela now that I'm not remembering correctly, but one of the seals of the flag of Florida had somebody pouring a vessel into the river, but I could be completely wrong. Maybe that was another state. But one of the things that I found interesting was it's the coloration. And we have this one, which I know Narco could probably talk about this
Wonder
one.
how many points are on that star in the corner.
So real quick, I have this book by Peter Lavenda. And Lavenda is a Crowleyan. He's an occultist. He's a guy who's into magic. And I think I want to say he lives in South Florida, but I could be completely wrong. And in this book, it's called the... Shout out to Mario from Symbolic Studies. I saw him in the chat earlier. This book is called... Give me 1 second. It's something, The Rites of the Mummy. But here he goes on to say, because we have this coloration here, right, the red and the white. And on here he goes, the color sacred to Chango is red. And again, this is thelemic. They're talking a whole bunch of stuff. But it says here, primary colors of the sacred mysteries are represented. Red and white, with the black and gold implied. So he's talking about the colors of the sacred mysteries being red and white. And then when we look at the red and the white, it kind of looks like the Templars flag as well, right? You have that connection there, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, I got this slide
There you
right
go.
here. I just looked up the Florida flag and I was like, oh, looks very similar to the Templar color scheme. It's like the same thing as Yale's coat of arms, right? With Yale having the 322 skull and bones, the Military Order of Malta, right there, oldest, is still in existence today. Switzerland, Knights Hospitallers, Templar flag. It's all there in the symbolism with Florida, and even the movie. It's another given Sunday, any given Sunday or whatever, is like very Florida themed, and they got the knights there, and that symbolism. I know I got it on a slide here, but yeah, that symbol, the X, and the etymology of the X is K, I believe. I think I got the slide, like, because X wasn't in the alphabet. Yeah, K was translated to X. So this would be, if you had anything to add on top of that, but I had some questions about this slide right here for y'all.
Yeah, Narco would know about the X and the K and stuff. And are they interchangeable, Narco?
I mean, yes. Yes and no, because X can also go back to echo and Ukko, which is, what echoes the most is thunder. So Ukko is the Finnish god of thunder. Ukko, but also luck, right? So Ukko, Ukko, luck. This is the god of luck. Jupiter, Jesus, Zeus, thunder god. So that thunder god also would be Echo, Ukko, and then X could come from the Ek, like that Eka, which would differ from the Ka, the K rune, which would be Kaunin, the C rune, which would be Kaunin or Kaunin. A couple different ways to say that. But, yeah, thunder echoes very, very wide. And then you would axe down a tree. It takes an axe to take down an oak, and this is the thunder. Some look at it as a hammer, Thor's hammer. Some look at it as Thor's axe. So Warhammer culture is kind of the same as battle axe culture,
Oh, okay. Yeah, because with the slide right here, axe axe is one of the old hieroglyphs for a god. Right there, you can see the etymology of the word God. I think that's Egyptian. So it's this axe. And the Tesla logo, I thought, looked like an axe, like two different axes, one going the other way. And Tesla's original Slavic surname means of the axe. And the axe in the ace and the king is like an ack, right? Ack. The aliens and Mars Attacks said ack, ack, ack. But this X, going back to the flag, you even got the zodiac and the Earth axis, right? The axis. And I look at the ace as the hidden shadow government, and the king is like its pawn in a sense. And the king of diamonds has the axe there. So all the stuff you were saying, I liked. And even the musk part with the smells, you got Axe body spray.
Yeah, that was cool. The Musk, 'cause I mean it's Elon Musk.
Axe also could potentially go back to the word ass. Ass and hell, guys, for those who don't know, have been demonized. These were the two most sacred words in the Viking language. Ass.
Ass, ASS.
Yes,
Okay.
Asgard. Asgard. This meant the holiest of the holies, where the sun doesn't shine.
Your third eye, baby.
The North Pole. Well, yeah, you could say that. The North Pole, the center, the buttonhole of the entire world, the buttonhole. So this is the center of it all, Asgard. We live in Midgard out here in the tropical regions. Right, but as meant God, as. So to ask king, asking something, right? You're asking the king, asking the gods.
You ass kisser, kissing on
Well,
the ass.
this is
That's
why I got
amazing.
demonized.
Asking.
'Cause
Asking. Ask the king.
Yeah, hell is Helsinki, the center of the earth, where the sun does not shine. That's your ass, where the sun doesn't shine. The holiest of the holies is Helsinki. Heli and holy are the same word. So if something is
Holy.
heli, it's revolving around a central pole.
And that's what's that called? The halo, right? Or
Halo, yeah, all the same. That's all of those words are kabbalistically the same.
And speaking of the moon, you're the rabbit. Like when you're mooning someone, it's like the butt. is
Oh,
the moon.
and talk about the rabbit. When you're talking about the axe and the echo, you have Echo and the Bunnymen.
Echo and
that
the
song?
Bunnymen.
Yeah, The Killing Moon by Echo and the Bunnymen. Good song.
I'd like to ask you a
you have the
question.
dolphin too, the Echo, the dolphin who was fighting aliens. And it was inspired by John Lilly's research on the extraterrestrial.
And this
research
movie
on
had the Dolphins with the Miami Dolphins. That was the whole movie.
Yeah.
Oh shit, we're
Yeah,
tying it.
Miami
We're
Dolphins.
tying it all in together now.
Where
I got-
saving the dolphin that went missing.
I got a slide of the dolphin that, since you're on that topic, just a real quick.
Boom.
With you got the dolphin, and I asked about those spokes on the flag, the Florida flag, because this dolphin one has 32, I believe I counted. You could
Nice.
see it with this Dallas Nights, which is all filmed in Florida. There's a big Florida connection. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but any given Sunday, you could see the Templar like cross right there. The 32 goes into mysticism. Beyonce had the 32 lights above her. Kobe Bryant, his jerseys were hanging up during the Grammys when he passed away, and it had 32 when you add the numbers up. Just wanted to show the dolphin since we were on that topic. That's it.
It's
Yeah,
all
man.
about the Illuminati Dolphins, man. It goes back full circle.
Well, Shakespeare, in one of the King Henrys, makes the joke about Dauphin, the Dauphin, like the rank, like a duke or a someone under a king. It's like a princely title, a Dauphin versus the dolphin, right? And he makes a couple other puns. But I thought that was interesting because you have the Duke of Orange and the oranges of Florida, the orange of the Miami Dolphins, Duke of Orange, Duke of Nassau, Nassau County, Orange County, Florida. I think there's definitely a connection to be had there. But
Yeah. No. Who was that was saying that? You said which king was that?
it was, I think, it was William Shakespeare, or sorry, Francis Bacon and De Vere and the boys. But
The crew.
I think it was King Henry V or King Henry IV, leading into King Henry V, where the French are debating with the English, and someone makes a pun about the. I don't care if you're a dolphin or a dolphin, you know.
Yeah, and that right, William Shakespeare, one of the people or groups of people, again, whatever you want to believe, if that was a conspiracy there that quite literally shaped the English language itself. I mean, a lot of the words that we have come from these were the first people to introduce that to the King James and all that. They were all in that same area, in that same point in time in history. And what are your thoughts? Do you think that Francis Bacon was William Shakespeare, right? Shake the spear.
I think he was. I think he was the primary guy. I think. See, remember, there was a mission being undertaken, both overtly and covertly, around that time to standardize the English language. Now, that was largely within the hopes of printing the King James Version Bible, and then that was largely accomplished by printing the King James Version Bible in a standardized English. Now, leading up to that point, they had to get as many pieces together as possible. And I know my Anglo-Saxon friends might not like this, because there's like this big debate right now: is Anglo-Saxon a thing, or is it not a thing? Is it just like a artificial identity? And it's not. But linguistically, we have to understand that in the mainstream, up until the King James Version Bible and the reigns of Elizabeth and James, you had English was not standardized whatsoever. Not whatsoever. It was not a poetically revered language. It was not any of this stuff. It was not being used to the extent that French was, which had itself recently undergone around that time a standardization in the pursuit of poetically purging the language so that it could be a graceful, beautiful language like it's kind of considered today, even though to me it sounds like, a bunch of frogs, like, I don't think it's anything to be laud. But the English was being ironed out into something magnificent. And this was initially being undertaken by John Dee and his friends under the direction or the orders of Queen Elizabeth. Because remember, that King James Version Bible almost would have been the Queen Elizabeth Version Bible had it came out a bit sooner. And it would have been a much more alchemically esteemed document, or steeped document. But John Dee was undertaking the beginning of a lot of that stuff, where you had Danish, Welsh, pieces of German, pieces of different Nordic languages being spoken on every different little piece of the coast. They couldn't rally the country behind a single king, or they had trouble doing so without the standard English. So this is where the wizards were coming in, and they were lending their wisdom and implementing some of these occult principles into the language itself in the pursuit of trumping the French, because they were at war with France on and off. They were vying for control, power. England had not reached like a national prominence yet across Europe, but with the standardized English, John Dee and his friends started that process. Francis Bacon would have been the real driving force for much of it, and Edward de Vere as well would have been a prominent figure in that. So it was a group project, but those are the most prominent names that would have been involved.
And you posted something about the name of Florida, and have here Florida Let me find it here. Florida means the land of flowers. And this is, again, Lavenda. Florida means the land of flowers, an intriguingly tantric designation for the land in which Ponce de Leon, among others, searched for the mystical Fuente de la Juventud, the so-called fountain of youth. The fountain transcended to geography, but imminent occulty is synonymous with Hecate's fountain. And again, it gets to this whole Thelemic worldview and all that stuff. But all right, De Leon, Christopher Columbus, John Dee. They, again, I don't know. I believe Christopher Columbus met John Dee at one point, and they were introduced because of Christopher Columbus' son. Now, the idea, right? Florida. Do you think this is a true story of how they named Florida? Because one of the things that I wanted to talk about with Donut, right, is right because we're talking about language, etymology. We have a lot of flow, right, with progressive rappers have flow. You have Rick Ross. You have all these different rappers and all these different things that come from flow. Flow Rida. Like, is that meant to invoke some certain type of thing with people, right? And the name, is that story bullshit, or what are your thoughts on that? Because I saw you post something about it. You told me to shut the fuck up, bro.
Names are never so one-dimensional, especially those of sacred places. So you have Flora, the goddess Flora, a goddess of flowers, which is where you get all words like flora, flower, floral,
Fleur-de-lis.
fleur-de-lis, meaning light, fluorescent, fluorescent. So all these words go back to flora. This is also the word floor. The word floor, meaning the bottom or down to the earth, where the herbs and flowers spring up from. This is where we get the word floor. And that's no coincidence. Florida is one of the flattest places on the planet. Flat, flan is the flattest dessert. Well, you have all these fla words. So the flow, what's special about Florida's flow is that it flows with virtually no decrease in sea level. There's no decrease in elevation, but water flows with such consistency nonetheless, because it's pushing up from the ground. Well, you also have Ida, so Flora, and then Ida. Ida is the goddess, also a goddess of springtime, light, flowers. She was the caretaker of Zeus, the maid, the nanny of Zeus for a time. Ida. Now, John Ringling, who is somewhat of Florida royalty, because they headquartered their circus in Sarasota, Florida. If I'm not mistaken, his mother's name was Flora, and his wife's name was Ida, or vice versa. Ida and Flora.
You said Ringling, the Ringling brothers?
Yeah. So he's buried next to Ida. Okay, that's what it is. He's buried next to his wife, Ida. His mom or his wife, Ida. And then they're buried in front of a statue of the goddess Flora. Then there's multiple Flora statues down in Miami. There you go, Ida Ringling, yeah.
And what was the other one?
Well, let's see if there is a Flora.
I'll try and find it. So Florida. So there's an Ida or Ida. I mean, whichever one, but I'll try and find the other one.
Mm-hmm. There's also an Ida or a Flora in the Flagler family. But there's a statue in Miami, like $1 million statue. It's like a art project installation that's named for Flora. Fluid, thank you, that's another word, fluid, right? Another FL word. So Ida is another goddess. This is two goddesses, and these are both goddesses of light and all that is good and springtime. So that's very much the qualities of Florida.
So who named it? Was it, because I mean, who was the one that wrote it down for the first time because
Yeah.
they say De Leon, which
There's two official accounts. So even according to the official timeline, it's kind of debatable what the true inspiration was, because it was around Easter, possibly Easter Day, where you have
the bunny again.
Pascua Florida is the festival, flowery festival that translates to, I think, or the flowery feast, something like that. And then when they landed, of course, they supposedly saw so many flowers that it was flowery Florita. So a combination of those two. Some people tell it one way, some people tell it the other way.
And I mean, the name Juan Ponce de Leon, right? That's like an alchemical pun in its own, right? Pounce of the lion, right?
Yep.
The 1 pounce of the lion, the alchemical lion that eats the sun. And do you have anything to add, Donut? Because I saw you had pulled something up.
Oh, just I'm into lighting and filming and stuff, and always heard Kino flow, which is sort of comes from a fluorescent lighting. It's different, but they use the fluorescent tubes, named it Kino flow. So all this Flo Rida, Rick Ross, I'm very much into the hip hop and all that. So
And that's used for movies, for directing movies, you said? For the creation of
well,
movies?
just lighting in general. So that was like the Kino flow lights, LED lights, tungsten lights. So just the word flow, rappers flow. I didn't know if there was a big connection, but the flower thing seems to be the strongest point with the fleur de lis, because that symbol is super strong in power structures.
So let's talk about that. Again, this is just going off not just my research, some other people's research. The Huguenots were certainly in Florida for a time, but there's nothing. There's nothing. The Huguenots, the French Huguenots. So we're told the Spanish found Florida. Not too long after, within years, the French Huguenots were there, poking around. Now, there's some evidence to show that they were in the Gulf of Mexico earlier. For example, New Orleans being some type of new Arcadia, or an ancient Arcadia, the true Arcadia, which is where we get the word Cajun. So the Cajun being this French mixed people, there's many who suppose that Cajun history goes back before the Spanish and a French presence in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean that was longer there. But before the Spanish, if there were Huguenots there, Huguenots identify with the fleur de lis. Now, how can we deny a link between the fleur de lis and Florida? Fleur de lis, Florida. Even Mind Unveiled has made that connection in one of his videos, I think. Fleur de lis, Florida. And Huguenot also goes into the Moorish connection, because what does hue mean? Colored. Colored folk, Huguenot.
Lighting, you got to change the hue.
Stay brown.
And the flowers always connected with power. You got the War of the Roses and the Tudor Rose and all that.
The Rosicrucians, right? You got the
Rosicrucians.
Oh, definitely. And so I wanted to bring up this connection with. So I thought that was interesting, because the reason I asked about it being used for movies, but it's lighting in general, because movies are used for control, for the media. It's to put ideas in people's minds. And right there, you have cities that have always in Florida. There are iconic. Miami, right? Scarface is one of the greatest movies of all time, and that was shot in Miami, right? I mean, that whole thing is supposedly based on true events. So
Truman Show filmed in Florida.
Really?
The moon stuff, right? That was filmed in Florida. The fake moon landing.
That's weird.
So
Another Jim Carrey movie
here,
filmed in Florida.
there's an alien movie. There's a famous alien movie that, or it's like I don't know if it's even aliens, but something from space lands in like the Gulf of Mexico and makes its way onto the beach. So if you're in the chat,
Oh, that's right. Yeah. What movie was
let me
that?
know. It's kind of like a Netflix type like B-rate movie.
What's the
Cocoon? Cocoon. Thank you.
That's what it's called. Cocoon?
Gordon Caledonia. Shout out. Thank you for that.
What's the
Cocoon.
Cuban connection to Florida? Like, is
Well-
there any like wild stuff with
when
that?
when all the natives were allegedly genocided, and allegedly there's none left, and they've all disappeared. The only ones that did survive, and this is the mainstream talking, so it's not me saying this. I'm not telling anyone who their ancestors are, but allegedly, the few Florida natives that remained in the mainstream escaped and were welcomed to Cuba. Now, it's strange that they'd go to Cuba because not too long after, the Spanish would be waiting for them there too. So it's not like they were escaping much other than war with other tribes. But remember, this is mainstream narrative. So those tribes in Cuba apparently had a treaty with their king and were treated like royalty when they came over. So some of the Timucua, Tequesta, the few that survived, allegedly went to Cuba. Now that could be like the American way of saying, oh yeah, the dog went to the farm in the nice happy place. We couldn't take care of the dog anymore, and now he's at the farm, you know, and he's running around in the meadows, and it's like this fantasy that you tell the kids so they don't cry. But who knows? The Seminoles also have strong ties to Cuba, but there's also a connection between the port of Tampa and Cuba, Ybor City and St. Petersburg, the Russians there, and then the Russian ties to Cuba, and the cigar making in the Tampa Bay, Ybor City area, and the Cuban cigars as well, cigar boats.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, because I know that's a big. I'm from Cuba, Scarface.
Nice.
You know, I got some more slides. Do you ever watch the show The Office?
I used to watch that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm a big Dunder Mifflin like fanboy, and
Well, you know, Dunder is thunder, and Donner, the thunder god. So Dunder.
Dunder's that god. Okay,
Thunder god.
so
Yeah.
Dunder Mifflin. Thunder. What would Mifflin be?
Nothing. I don't have anything on that.
So this show is super fascinating. As you got Michael Scott, Juan really covers Michael Scott quite a bit, but Tallahassee, because we're talking Florida, right? I thought it was Texas, but it was Florida. That's like a joke from the show. Anyway, so the Office, Dunder Mifflin, they got Dunder Mifflin Infinity when Sabre bought the Office, and the CEO was the Lizard King, Robert California, who talks a lot about Eyes Wide Shut. He had a mansion. He even did a one-night Saturnalia. So he's saying all of this occult stuff. They throw this huge mansion party. And the guy who was running Dunder Mifflin before him, before Tallahassee, Sabre bought them out. You had the military investing in the old owner at the top right, and he got the word Illy. I don't know if you ever looked into the Illy, the Millie, the priesthood of the Illies. That's just some more etymology stuff there. But then you got BJ Nova right here, Ryan. He's doing the Illuminati hand sign because he took over Dunder Mifflin. He was arrested. You got Creed, who is like running like a drug operation throughout he's like the real like boss of it, and he's murdered someone on Halloween, and he's like, oh, this is a good timing. And then you got the Scranton Strangler connection, which is Toby. And the way that Dunder Mifflin was created was through the Rotary Club, which is its own like little secret society from the founders from Freemasonry, like building that structure, just like how the Illuminati was structured as well. And Dunder Mifflin Infinity, they do the pyramid as well, where you got James doing the Illuminati pyramid and whatnot. And you know who follows him on Instagram is like the Alphabet Boys, the CIA, and all that.
Yeah, Nephilim. I like that
Mifflin,
connection.
Nephilim,
And that's all from a show, right? Like the real Michael Scott, for those that don't know, was like a master necromancer, and he was part of the church. And Michael Scott with 1T, and people always wondered how he knew so much about the occult. Turned out that he was actually doing all of these rituals in which that he wrote about. A lot of dark stuff. That's a dark rabbit hole to go down. And then you have this. And you know what's weird, Donut? That one of the descriptions of Michael Scott was that he would joke around a lot. Well, who jokes around a lot?
Michael Scott, and he's a magician. And then you got Dwight, who is into alchemy. When he met Angela, they just show you these little things that the screenwriters who are connected with the Simpsons, you always have Homer Simpson in every episode hiding, a cult like hiding there. And Marge is a bunny too, just on top of everything.
Novak is the writer of that. I mean, he's
Novak. He's writer Mindy, who released her new show, The Sex Lives of College Girls, on November 18th, which is 322 Day. The Office has 201 episodes. You got that big connection with 201. Even the checkerboards right here, like on all that. The 9 season, the tic-tac-toe. But Angela introduced Dwight into monotheism, into like all this different stuff, because Dwight got this Amish connection with the military, hiding military people escaping the war in his Schrute Farms. In episode 33 is called The Initiation, where BJ Novak gets initiated by Dwight, and they try to put him in a coffin, like a skull and bones type ritual. So there's so much occult stuff with the show. I've been watching this for years and years, and been just writing notes every time I rewatch the series. What I do is I follow one character and I write notes throughout the entire show. And then the next time I watch the show, I just take notes on the one character. So I've gathered like this huge office.
So this episode, the headquarters of Dunder Mifflin was in Tallahassee, Florida?
Yes. So Tallahassee, Florida, Sabre bought out Dunder Mifflin. So I was just bringing that up to see if you guys had anything on that with the Florida connection.
Yeah, so I think that Narco has like a breakdown of the etymology of Tallahassee. What was... Because I've heard you talk about that before, no, Narco?
Well, it's Allah. To Allah, see. To Allah. You have Dallas, to Allahs. Talladega, to Allah, Dega. These are all pointing to an ancient Islamic phantom empire in the southeast United States at some point. Whether this is the Mormon history of like the Old Testament, whether this is a Moorish empire that had been here prior to Columbus, maybe even escaping the Spaniards, or present here already, or there was an aboriginal portion of star and crescent observing people who used this Islamic iconography before we could call it Islamic, in the Eurasian sense. But you have South Carolina, the crescent moon, Texas, the lone star, that is the star and the crescent, surrounding the Gulf, which is itself the true fertile crescent. But now The Office, the only way I can watch TV is thank God I know astrology, and I always look up the people's names, the people's birthdays once I find out their names. And once I have a list, the amount of information, the amount of learning you can do just watching some of these mindless TV shows is extraordinary. Michael Scott, and this is the actors playing. So Steve Carell is a Leo. He's a Leo. That's the boss. He's shining. That's the Dom, the Dominion. Domingo. That's the God, the sun shining. He's the center of attention. He has to be the center of attention. He can't not be the center of attention in that show. That's what Leos are like. He's a Leo. They're ruled by the sun, so he shines like the
That's
sun.
so wild. Because he's the center of attention, and when Saber bought out the place, he was so mad because he wasn't the center of attention anymore, and Gabe Lewis was. And they played the song by Miley Cyrus and Cyrus's son.
So Jim is a Libra. He's the ultimate fence sitter. He's the diplomat. He's the people pleaser. He's vanilla. Libras can be the most vanilla, blank slate. Like everyone's relating with him.
Are you a Libra, Donut?
Well, dude, like he's neutral with the audience. He looks at the camera.
Pam, exactly, and he's Libra rules appearances, facades, cosmetics, beauty. So then you also have Pam, who's the Pisces. Pisces is the quiet one, the shy, but they're smart, they're wise. Pam's always right. You know what I mean? She's always right with what she says, and
creative. She's always drawing.
Oh, exactly. Wonderful. She's the artist. She's the dreamy one. She's the lover, romantic. That's Pisces to a T.
And Jim is tuna. He's known as another fish, right? And him and the other fish are together, which is the Pisces symbol when they come together.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's see. So
Creed?
Kevin is the eater, right? Kevin, he's the Sagittarius. Sagittarius rules excess, expansion. Sagittarius is one of the signs known to be that can be overweight. They can also be very skinny, like a horse. Horses can put on weight and lose weight super easy, very finicky with eating and digestion. But Kevin is Sagittariuses are known to be very wise, but not like smart or nitty gritty with the details. They're not the studious ones by any means.
When I become president, they see.
When Kevin's often giving these one lines of immense wisdom, but he's a complete retard for most of the show. That's a very Sagittarius thing. I'm a Sagittarius, so I say that with no ill will.
My mom's a Sag.
And then you have I forget the rest of their birthdays, but Aquarius. Okay, so Dwight is the Aquarius, or he might be Pisces cusp, but Aquarius is the weirdo, the complete alien, the alchemist, the wizard, the complete out of this world, doesn't belong. They're the loner that everyone's
individual
creeped out by. They have the serial killer, school shooter energy, but they're also very funny. Aquarius they're super whimsical, right? And they're also extremely obsessed with being the best at what they're doing. So Dwight cannot rest until he's the absolute best. He cannot stop. He's obsessed with status and these things. He's a complete Aquarius. And by the way, these are the actors' birthdays. So whatever role these actors are going to be put into, this astrological designation shines forth. You cannot obstruct it. You cannot stifle it or snuff it under any type of character. And the best movies are the best because they step back and let the characters fill a proper astrological role. So it's not always implemented on purpose, but I'll tell you, well, never mind. But we'll get into that another day.
Well,
But-
even like Alex Jones, for example, is an Aquarius, and Dwight is always saying money's not real when we got off the gold standard, and just saying all
right,
these. Like,
he's the conspiracy theorist.
yeah, he's got the doomsday stuff. Mhm.
Aquarius rules query and inquiry. To be queer, inquiry, Aquarius, queer. So this is Aquarius is the most inquisitive sign. Mercury also has this influence. That's why Uranus, which rules Aquarius, is the octave of Mercury. It's the leveled up supreme version of Mercury. So Mercury, Aquarius is the inquire, to have a question, a quest, quiz. This is Aquarius, the only zodiac sign that has a Q in it, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the quiz, the question, and the LGBTQ, which Aquarius also rules. By the way, they had to add the Q. And let's go, Brandon Trump 2020. But
Well, and it's so important in the office, the birthdays. Kelly Kapoor's so mad that she didn't get her birthday. They have the party planning committee. So birthdays, Dwight, it's your birthday. Birthdays are a very crucial role in the show. And Michael Scott's birthday in the show, not real life, is the Ides of March as well. So that's so cool. So you didn't touch on the Gemini, because I just looked up Mindy Kaling.
well, yeah, Mindy's a Gemini for sure.
Yeah, that's what it says. June 28th.
So yeah,
I
she's
I
the
could be wrong.
chatty one. She's the mean girl of The Office. Not mean like mean, but like the Mean Girl movie, like chatty girl. You know, that's the absolute.
Oh, actually, no. Zodiac is
Oh,
she's June 28th.
Okay, well that's good too, because she's on the cusp of Gemini with Cancer, which is also that mean girl archetype, because Cancers can be, in terms of feminine topics, the most catty and vicious amongst each other. But on the Gemini cusp, she's a little off, a week into Cancer. But June 28th, she's a Cancer. She's very obsessed with beauty, traditional relationships, and she wants to be a mother, a wife, obsessed with that. So that's a very Cancer. She's very new age in some regards, but she's traditional with her religion. She's traditional in her romantic values. She's traditional. And Cancers can have a little bit of like an excessive feminine, overly feminine, you know, and I think she fills that archetype.
Are there any Taurus on that show? Tauruses?
Because I thought Kevin would have been the Taurus, because I thought Taurus was associated with eating.
It is, yes, because
Yeah.
restaurant, this is how you can always remember how to spell restaurant correctly. Taurus rules eating. And Taurus, restaurant. Taurus rules resting, staying still in one spot, and Taurus, to eat, to devour, right?
Got a question there in the live chat.
How much emphasis does the doctor place on a person's rising sign in their natal chart? Do you see it as possibly being of more importance than their sun sign? No. Well, it's a good question, so thank you, Conan, and I like that name. That's a strong name. Basically, the sun is everything. You walk out of your door this morning, and you try and pick out a constellation in the sky. You can't. Why? Because the sun is shining, and the sun is dominating 99% of our life. You can't think without considering some effect of sun, meaning color, sound, electricity, frequency, vibration. All of these are symptoms of the sunlight, ultimately. The sun in the sky, God's truest face, God's, sun here living with us, shining upon us. That is that sun. So the rising sign has a large influence. This is how I look at it. You have a top three. Your sun sign is going to be either 90% of your chart or 3/4 of your chart in my opinion, when I guess people's zodiac signs, and I can do it with about 60% accuracy, right? I can get pretty good if I'm lucky some days. But if I'm wrong, I actually get farther up in accuracy, because if I'm wrong, it'll be their ascendant. So that kind of gives you, if you're guessing, out of 1 out of 12, you now have kind of a 1 out of 6 chance of getting it right. Because if you get it wrong, you might have gotten their ascendant right. So I look at that as helpful, because the ascendant does have a similar effect to the sun. It rules the outer cast light on the exterior of the body. So let's talk about the moon, though. So I always say top 3, and when I introduce myself, if astrologically, I say I'm a sun, moon, rising. So that's my order, and I use that order kind of because that's how I order those planets. Sun, Sagittarius, Moon, Taurus, Gemini, rising. So I look at that as the sun is the biggest piece of you. It's the biggest piece of everything. It can't be. It can't not be. Moon is the equal to the sun. So you're out in the sky, and the sun is always there, shining. And when it's up, it dominates everything. When it's gone, the stars shine through, or the moon shines through. But this declares that the moon has prominence. Sorry, the moon has prominence over the stars, because sun, moon, stars. The moon will pass in front of the stars. It's larger. It encompasses more of the sky. It shines, provides more light. So I look at it as sun, moon, stars. Sun, moon sign, sun sign, moon sign, rising sign. Ascendant, rising, same thing. Now, if you're talking about appearance, ascendant can have a greater effect on facial appearance, because it's the first house, which is ruled by Aries, which is the face. Aries is where we get the word rising, arise, Aries, arise. So that's the first house of the zodiac. Now, as much as I think why is the rising sign the first house, and why is it the most important? Why is it the only one you'll really mention offhand when you meet someone? It's because that's the house where the sun exalts. So even the influence, the dominance that the rising sign has over the chart, it's getting that influence because of the sun. So I think that answers the question, that the sun, in my opinion, is the most prominent feature of your chart, and the one that you should pay attention to most, because you can't avoid. You can always figure out someone's sun too. So God makes it this way, that you don't have to have that much detail to know this. It's a 28-day window. No, 30-day window. 30 degrees of the zodiac. This window will tell you your sun sign. So you can't be that far off. The moon, you have to know within a 2.5-day window, roughly. And the ascendant, you have to know within the minute. Within the hour, you have to know. So if you can get that information, you can figure out your top 3, and you'll know your chart accurately. But for not everyone has that privilege of knowing exactly when they were born. This is why the sun is the most basic, simple way to deduce information from the zodiac. So here's what I have to say about the moon, because I see this comment. Good comment, Leia. If you're a female, because I was just talking about men there, because men come first at the end of the day, sorry. If you're a female, you will have a larger dosage of lunar influence. You will have, moon could potentially say, is 50% of your being. If you're born at night in the moon's dominion, the lunar realm, you will have an even more increased lunar influence. So your moon sign, especially in a woman's chart, especially in a feminine woman's chart, because if this is a woman who's wearing a suit and tie at work, business suit, that lunar influence is probably not going to be as strong. But if this is a homemaker, a woman in the house all day, she'll be shining like moonlight all the time. So the moon is what should be paid attention to. So sun, moon, ascendant. Females should pay attention to their moon sign because it could potentially act as their sun sign. So yes.
And I think this is a great segue into what I wanted to talk about, which I've heard people talk about Florida being good for manifestation. I know we talked about, right, SpaceX is here, Disney World is here, the most magical place on earth. I don't think Disney picks a certain area just because. I think there's something to be said about it being the most magical place on earth, right? I've heard occultists say that it's good for manifestation because of the water around it, where we have water on three sides of it. And something that's very near and dear to my heart, which is the Bermuda Triangle. Now, there's the conspiracy, right? I was obsessed with the Bermuda Triangle when I was a kid. And there's the conspiracy that at the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle, perhaps is that Atlantean weapon that's shooting down and teleporting airplane, the crystal, right? The powerful crystal at the bottom of the ocean there. All these different things. And I don't know how familiar you are with the Atlantis timeline or the storyline, but have you ever heard of Ruta and Daitya before, Narco?
No.
So according to Lavenda, in this book, the modern day twin islands of Bimini are supposed to be the remnant of the twin islands called Ruta and Daitya, which existed before the final catastrophe that obliterated the remnant of the great Atlantean civilization. So he's talking about off the coast of Bimini, which, right, we have the Bimini Road there, right? We have that whole connection and how that might have been this port for the whatever the ships we have. I know Narco loves Graham Hancock and how, you know, his shows, he watches all the episodes and everything. He's read all of Graham Hancock's book. He loves that guy. And he went to Bimini and he showed the stones and how supposedly it's laid out in a certain type of way to where it could have been a seaport of some fashion, right? And I know you've talked about Florida being, right, Atlantis or the Garden of Eden, et cetera, but these geographical gateways, as Lavenda puts it, and you have, right, he has here the bridge, I believe talking about the Bridgewater Triangle, and how the Bridgewater Triangle next to it is the Hockomock Swamp. What do we have next to the Bermuda Triangle? We have the Florida Everglades, which is essentially a swamp. So this connection of these two places being in conjunction, H.P. Lovecraft supposedly lived next to the Bridgewater Triangle, and the triangle, right, speaking of women and all this stuff, is the yoni, right, or place of manifestation, but it also is the pyramid of fire, the fire associated with the Elder Shin, which is also representative of the spirit, et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
and it would...
Is the Bermuda Triangle not a downturned pyramid? Or is it, triangle, or is it an upturned pyramid? I thought it was like this.
That's a good question.
It's a little bit like this, I think.
I heard
Yeah,
it's
it's
technically
sideways.
a trapezium.
You want to get technical, bro? Here we go. So I got a picture pulled up. So it's the Bermuda Triangle. So it touches the tip of the phallus here in Florida, goes to Bermuda, to Puerto Rico, right? And back here. And it would make sense why Mar-a-Lago and all these different places, Miami, right, is at the concentrated around these areas. You have Coral Castle, also towards the southern tip of Florida, almost sort of tapping into this. And shout out to Slick Distant. I saw him in the chat, and he was talking about one time he sent it to me when we've done multiple episodes on H.P. Lovecraft, and they talk about how you can make certain pacts with certain entities, right? And you have to do something with the triangle. So essentially hinting at that you're able to tap into some otherworldly entities using this triangle, which some occultists have done just that. You have Lavenda and again some other occultists that were using, right? Here we go. that the Bermuda Triangle served as the primary site for operations that developed the cell as a tool for communion with the great old ones. And let's not forget that we have L. Ron Hubbard here. And where did he take the ships of Jack Parsons? Off the coast of what? Off the coast of Florida.
Titusville, right?
I don't know if it was Titusville, but it was off the coast of Florida somewhere, and he stole his girlfriend. And again, very Edward Kelly-esque, ran away, I think, with one boat, money, and one of his wives, and his first wife, and disappeared. But it was off the coast of Florida. And then allegedly Jack Parsons, right, JPL, again, connected to Cape Canaveral, SpaceX, NASA, allegedly conjured some storm to bring them back to shore after they had already left. So you have this manipulation of weather, but we have these occultists, point being, we have these occultists mingling with entities outside of space and time, and they talk about how Florida is the best place to summon it. Shout out to Mario from Symbolic Studies for showing me this book. And he talks about how there is the Everglades, a vast sea of grass serving as a filter system to the inland waters of North America as they flow into the sea, as well as serving as home to the alligator, a descendant of the ancient terror mammals, the dinosaur. Then there are the bones of Florida, quote, great quantities of ancient bones, some of them belonging to animals now extinct, that crowd and clog the limestone and coral caverns and tunnels that underlie the northern 2/3 of the state. The porous limestone has helped to create the phenomenon known as the sinkhole, wherein even large tracts of land have been literally swallowed into the ground. And then he goes on to say one such sinkhole north of Lake Okeechobee has been associated with suggestively evil phenomenon at times in the past and is known as the Devil's Millhopper. I've never heard about this. I'm going to look it up here. But again, South Florida has become the fertile ground for the spread of the ancient African cult in the form of Santeria, Palo, Obea, and Voodoo. So he's talking, here's the Cuban connection represented by Cuba, Cuban, South American, and Haitian communities, which again are in South Florida. I mean, that's a thing. It's full of Cubans. I love Cubans. And
I'm a political refugee from Cuba.
Cuba, exactly, right? The cube. And let me find the other thing here where he talks about the mangroves. So we have occultists, Thelemites, Crowleans, talking about how Florida is the best place to get in contact with these entities on the other side, right? The key, the gate, the guardian of the gate is the gate of Da'ath. And again, it's talking about different dimensions. So you have the Florida Keys, and also the connection with Flagler, John D. Rockefeller. And again, if you Google the occult origins of Florida, your boy comes up, because I was talking about this when old world Florida was just a tiny little homunculus, right? In this alchemical pot. And you have the connection between Flagler, John D. Rockefeller, and also there's a connection with John D. in there because the Harknesses were part of that silent group that helped fund John D. and Standard Oil. So I think it's all connected. And it's somebody was mentioning earlier in the chat. It's like, are these people, right? They're writing these shows. They're using people's personalities as talismans. Are they doing that consciously, or are they in touch with other things, higher powers, if you will? Are they tapping into something else, or is it something that's just being presented to them and they're acting upon whatever? Because when we get an idea, we trust that we came up with it, but did we truly come up with it? Or is there something, right, like H.P. Lovecraft talking to you in your dreams, and then therefore, right, life imitates art, and they make these things? Because I think it's all done by design. I mean, either there is something on the outside, because I don't think that these people are as smart as we give them credit to be. So I don't know. I think this was a really interesting connection of the more supernatural and metaphysical aspects of Florida, because I've always said it, out in these places, right, of open, vast land, you have the deserts where the jinn live and all these different entities and these strange phenomenon. And if you ever go out into the middle of the Everglades, it's a different place. It's a different dimension. It's a different energy. And I think that corporations like Disney and all these other, right, SpaceX, X marks the spot, they tap into those sort of energies, and they know about this. They read the same books that we're reading, and they turn around and they use this sort of magic. And we have the president of the Department of Magic here in Florida with us today, L. Ron Hubbard. And yeah, what do you have to say about that, Narco Longo? What do you have to say about the Bermuda Triangle, bro, in Atlantis?
I mean, it's everything. It's the land of dragons. It's what's beneath Georgia. Georgia's Georgia. Then Florida must be the dragon beneath them. And I think there's an immense occult significance here. People come here for... I like the tantric connection, too, that you were saying with Florida and rejuvenating waters themselves being like kind of like a sexual thing. But
well,
we have to
Narco.
man grow, a growing man on the phallic Florida peninsula is...
He says it's the opposite, bro. So
you also have the eel. The eel is the most like alchemical animal, or this serpentine electric eel. Not all eels are electric, I know, but the American eel, do you guys know about this? Goes from the ocean, and only the females go in to Florida, into the freshwater springs. So they swim, some of them like hundreds of miles from the saltwater ocean, and then they literally adapt and change back to freshwater and go into the freshwater, lay their eggs, their babies, then evolve, like adapt in the flesh from freshwater fish. They have to go, I think the women, I don't know, they go into the springs and then leave. And at some point, it's the women, not the babies, evolve back into a freshwater fish. So they evolve fresh, salt, and then have to go back out into the saltwater. Very strange. The American eel does this in Florida. It's in my Fountain of Youth video. So something about Florida's waters allow this to happen. And there's many different species of saltwater fish who can live completely fine inside Florida springs.
Yep.
But in most other places on the planet, saltwater can't go into freshwater. Only in extreme rare instances, whereas Florida allows many different species to do this, because the mineral content in some of these freshwater springs, even though they're fresh and sweet to the taste, they're so high in mineral that the fish can subsist off it like as if it's ocean water. So I think there's something to that, of this, this quintessence, special fifth element missing thing that is hard to locate in most of the planet, but could have a higher concentration here in Florida. And whether that's the spring water itself, or something that the radiation in the spring water, the Bermuda Triangle itself, I think it all goes hand in hand. And I don't think it's a single cause and effect. I think there's many dimensions to it. With the weather, the lightning capital, the thunder capital of America, some would argue the world, depending on what statistics you use. But
yeah, this slide that I got up here is the pyramid, like the Bermuda Triangle, and the eel is kind of like the worm of the ocean, sort of. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. I don't even know what an eel looks like.
It's like the worm and sperm and worm come from the same word. Worm, sperm, this limbless sexual creature that represents not only sperm, but the unseen serpentine energy of all the creative world, being it artistic, musical. You take enough psychedelics, you'll see little eels on the walls and stuff like that. And there's this Central American serpentine nature. It's all around the world. It's serpent cults, and we can get into the astrology of that too, with Neptune and the serpent cults and serpent culture.
Well, I had a question actually for you. because I've been looking into the Year of the Rabbit, the whole alien connection. Mario of Symbolic Studies was showing me the Eye of Providence being connected to the North Star. And I was like, man, the Eye of Providence looks just like a UFO. Like there's the eye going down and abducting, and the cow would be the checkerboard floor. And I looked into it, and it's not that far of a stretch. As you got Independence Day, the aliens invaded July 2nd. On the top right corner, that is the UFO opening up its light, and it's the 8-pointed star.
Good point. Yeah.
Mars attacks right here. This is their flag. This is what it seems like to me. And July 2nd leaves 182 days left into the end of the year. Blink 182 is releasing these UFO files. July 2nd, the real founding of America. July 2nd is 72 bricks on the pyramid, right there on the back of the dollar bill. Issue 182 on Mad Magazine. So I think Rihanna's baby is going to be born on June 24th, which is National UFO Day, or July 2nd, which right here you could see it's World UFO Day. What's the significance of June 24th? This is my prediction that Rihanna's baby will be born this day, or July 2nd. You got any astrological vibe with that?
I do not, unfortunately. Okay. I did not know Rihanna was pregnant. I don't keep up with Blink 182 either, so.
Okay, for sure. So what I'm predicting, which is going to be coming up if I'm right or wrong, like within like this month, but her revealing of being pregnant at the Super Bowl when the UFOs from China, the balloons, were flying above it. There's this huge connection with this fake alien disclosure. It's all fake, and it does connect to the Rockefellers. You got the Florida Flagler guy, Standard Oil, Rockefeller, later on in life. It is Lawrence Rockefeller releasing the UFO initiative with the Clintons, and just this huge connection there. So I'm looking out for that baby to be born on John the Baptist Day, which is connected to the Templars, or this day, July 2nd. There's just so much occult stuff with that. And then I think that the more disclosure stuff will happen during Lunasa, the Moon Cake Festival.
What are you doing, Narco?
Who, me?
Yeah, bro. You making a homunculus over there, dude?
Drinking water.
Yeah, I think that, right, the homunculus, Rihanna, definitely that's a planned birth of some kind. They'll probably do a C-section to make it come out at a certain time, and again, use that astrological alignment as some sort of talisman for that baby. They're going to set it up for success or do other things. Who knows, right? But I wanted to add, you had the pyramid there, right? What are your thoughts on the UFO phenomenon going on right now, Narco? I know that you're not a big believer in aliens, but I want to get your thoughts on it now that we're on the subject.
Rather talk about toenail polish.
Are aliens real? Yes or no, bro?
I'm just gonna divert it right back to what I always say. Aryan. Alien is Aryan. One of these words you're allowed to put all over fucking Grant Hancock's fucking TV show. And all over the billboards here. Oh, let's talk about it in Congress today. Oh, let's put it in the classroom. Oh, let's put it in the history museum. Oh, alien this, alien that. It's complete BS. It's gross materialism. Okay, sci-fi came first, then space travel. So it's gross materialism. It is the plagiarizing of 1 trillion different hermetic, metaphysical, occult principles and grinding them down into the most material format ever. Oh, this race is from that nebula, and they came here to do this. It's a big telling sign that our population on this earth is at a low form of degeneracy, a low level of degeneracy. a high level of degeneracy, meaning they're very degenerated, low intelligence, because for all these doctrines to be going straight over people's heads and for them to grasp onto the most material, low-hanging fruit provided to them by late night History Channel and late night Discovery Channel. This is all the biggest distraction there's ever been. That is why it's coming after the most recent biggest distraction there's ever been. It's just the next one on cue. And I'll just be eating my fruit while people are worried about these things popping out of the sky and all this and that. It's all smoke and mirrors, and they might time a couple things along with. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Columbus showing up to some of these islands to take over, and he would have a lunar map with him, a lunar cycle, and he would say, if you don't give, he'd go up to the natives, and this is a story, he'd go up to the natives and say, if you don't give me all your virgins and show me where the gold is and, you know, where the goods are, and give us some fruit, give us some food, I'm going to take your moon away. So he'd wait for the new moon, right, or something like that, a lunar eclipse. And he would use these to dramatic effect in the psyche of his enemy.
Wow.
And this would be like a God factor. So, you know, a lot of these things, they show us up in the sky. I was talking about this with someone else a couple days ago. They're probably telling, oh, this is the blank blank rocket re-entering orbit and it's scraping. Oh, yeah, that's what it looks like. That could be an astrological phenomena that has been calculated and given a simply different designation in a different age. For example, angel. Oh, that's an angel in the sky. Oh, that's a chariot of the gods in the sky. So it's all nonsense. It's just the lens that we, as a very digitally handicapped people, are viewing the world through, industrial-minded. We're viewing it through that, oh, they must have came here through industrial means. They must have gotten in their craft and traveled here all this way. Now, there's the whole other side of this, which is government usage of materials and technology that we don't know anything about. That happens all the time. I've seen UFOs, so I'm not anti-UFO. UFO means unidentified flying object. Aliens means, I'm assuming, other world, extraterrestrial. Now, there's one word you're allowed to put all over History Channel, like I said. Then there's one word that you're not allowed to say anywhere, and has been given such a unfair, pre-designated meaning that is, you're not allowed to utter, despite it being a purely linguistic term. Well, you can say it. Alien means Aryan. Aryan means Indo-European language. It has no inherent meaning of supremacy or any type of this or that. That is purely propaganda aimed at censoring the truth, which the truth is going to crush this alien narrative in its tracks if it's allowed to be disseminated, if people can wake up and ditch this materialist mindset, they'll see right through the smoke and mirrors that are coming. Well, astrology will help this and that, but yeah, whatever.
No, I love it, bro. I love it. It's, again, very humanistic, right? They've taken away the humanism movement. They've inserted either another religion or something else. And I think that this, right, Ron Hubbard, Scientology, another UFO cult, a lot of these different occult circles are UFO cults. They are supposedly in touch with these extraterrestrials, the Book of the Law, right? Crowley and his connection to the three-letter agencies. I
can break it down right here. This humanity was seeded by aliens, right? According to Zechariah Stitchin and the Sumerians. No. This is the Suomi seeding the Aryans, people in Eurasia, coming from the Arctic pole and disseminating animal agriculture, runic language, and various other Arctic lifestyles, Arctic art forms that only originate under the need of winter, which is where domesticated animal comes from. In the tropics, in the paradise times, we did not have domesticated animal as we know it, not in an agricultural capacity. Okay, this is truth here, by the way, guys. I would pay attention. The Suomi, the Sumerians, this are Finnish people. This is why the Phoenicians is where we get our first languages. Those are just in the boats. Those are the boat people. Well, the Sumerians are the ones who got started in a big city. And I'm not saying they invented society, but they invented record keeping as we know it. And that's why society starts at roughly 6,000 years ago in Sumeria, in the civilization. These are the Suomi. Go ask the Finnish what they call themselves. The Suomi. So the Finnish, with their big, long Arctic beards and their straight noses and their distinctly Northern European faces with their bearded beards and such, came down to Finland. And these are the gods that Zechariah Sitchin was so ignorant not to realize. He said that these people came from the stars when they worshipped the stars. These were astrological magi coming down to Earth and teaching, coming down from Asgard to Midgard. They're extraterrestrials. Why? Because extra means on top of. It doesn't also mean, it doesn't have to mean away from. It can also mean on top of, extra, above and beyond. This is Asgard, above Midgard, at the center of the Earth, the top of the planet, whichever way you look at it. This is Finland, the finish line, the grand finale. Okay? Do I need to go on? Any way you finagle it, it's the same truth.
And Finland is a bunny from above.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
It's shaped like a bunny.
Yeah, shape of a bunny, just like the moon. So it's like above and below, sort of a bunny and a bunny.
Well, I find that hard to believe. But so
That's dope. Dolphin.
dolphin, sure. So this is because it's the doll, the Russian doll that goes inner and inner towards the rings at the center of the planet. It is the doll fin, the doll, the Russian doll, because this original Finnish family, according to the Fox saga, was called the family of the rose. That's why the original race of European people, Northern European, the first ever light, blonde, blue-eyed people on the planet would have been the Rose family from Russia and Finland. So that's why Russian and Finnish people are very blonde today. They've been mixed with Asiatic genes a little bit. But then you have the Rose family, yes, goes down to Russia. Finnish, Phoenician, Suomi, Sumerian, Suomi, Sumeria. And yeah, so this is where you have runes record keeping versus oral record keeping, which was kind of the norm before that. We're not saying people didn't have stories. We're not saying there wasn't grand society. It's just record keeping as we know it. And history as we know it picks up right here, Sumeria. And this is the Finnish origin of written language, phonetic language as we know it. This is what has to be written out of history because it gives too much credit to a central polar headquarters of this planet being Asgard, this Viking, paradise at the center of the earth. This is the Garden of Odin. The Garden of Odin. Odin, the Viking god at the center of the earth, who is not Odin, Woden, who is Mercury. Why did those two get confused? Because Mercury is closest planet to the sun. And I'm not promoting the heliocentric model here. That's a bunch of baloney too. But no matter how you look at it, astrologically, Mercury is never more than one sign away from the sun. So Mercury is the servant of the sun. So just like Plato would write himself as Socrates in his texts, Mercury willingly takes subordinates to the sun and designates himself as the sun, as a servant of the sun. So Odin, Woden, is Odin as well. And you could say Udin is the sun, and Odin would be Woden, Wednesday. So this is why,
So-
yeah.
It's safe to say that you don't believe in aliens, then, Dr. Narco.
No, because you can't tell that story because everyone
I'm just messing. I'm
would
just
be
messing with
too.
Sorry, bro.
That's it.
I still love you, man. It's okay. I just wanted to get your input. I love when you put the passion into it, right? And bring back this humanism, bring back the power to the people, because I think that's been stripped away, right? With all this media and movies, these cinemagicians with this stagecraft. The world is a stage, William Shakespeare. Every man and woman has their entrances and exits, right? And people play them to the T. Donut, do you want to add anything to that?
Oh, yeah, a lot, but it's fine. But Florida and The Office. I'm just gathering all my thoughts. It is the music industry as well that plays a role in it, just like the cinemagicians play a role in it. For where I stand on the alien thing, the whole thing is a psyop. But they're creating a religion for people. The elite need a religion for the common man. But I believe X-Files, E.T. is touching the finger. It's all there for a belief system. I believe in there's entities though, alien entities of that people can, like what they're doing with Lam or whatever, like that. It's not what we're told, but I do believe that.
So, can I ask you one thing, if that's okay? Are you into like the species of aliens?
No.
At all? Like there's like reptilians, right? And those are the bad guys.
There's mantises. I think they're. Yeah,
Well,
I guess there could be something to it.
Who are supposed to be the best aliens?
The best ones are supposed
The
to
white
Like
ones.
the nicest. Well, it's not a racial thing, but it's important.
No, I heard.
It's important what they're called.
I'm not sure.
Nordics and Pleiadians. Pleiades is
I've heard this.
the patron constellation of the northern European peoples. So Nordics would be, of course, Finnish people. This is the Finnish aliens. Boom, home run. Aliens debunked forever. This is, of course, an Arctic origin. These are the people who came from elsewhere, behind the ice. They were isolated. They came back from behind the ice, meeting the tropical races for the first time. They were very tall, they had beards, and they were called aliens, Aryans, from elsewhere. They were red-skinned, red aliens from Mars. Aries, Mars, ruled by Mars. This is why Aries come from Mars. The red ochre people. Iron Age, Iron Man, coming out. This is the age of Aries as well. Is when much of blah blah blah. Okay.
So would this be
you were saying.
considered the giants?
Well, it's not that these were the only giants ever, but due to their agricultural practices, when much of the rest of the world was kind of disheveled due to a recent cataclysm, they were tucked away in the ice, developing agriculture. And when they came out of the ice, they had grains. So grains grows the brain. Grain is brain power. We all know, as much as I like Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory, and as much as carnivore diet people are clinging to this theory that meat eating somehow enlarged our brain a little bit, it's a very clownish theory. But
I love hamburgers.
We all know for a fact that it was grain-based agriculture that extremely enlarged our brain capacity, brain function, skeletal development, upward growing skull and jawbone, increased blood flow to the brain through the temples of God. You look at someone chewing and the blood is passing straight into the temples. Meat, as much as I like fruit, and I will exalt fruit up because it's the food of the gods. It does not require enough mastication, chewing. Meat, raw meat, your steaks, whatever. If you try and chew it forever, people swallow their meat. They can. It doesn't require the chewing that grain does. Grains are meant to be chewed with intention. Okay, it's not overly hard, but you chew to completion, and your brain thrives because of it. This is why grains grow the brain. Everyone knows. This is the carnivore diet's worst nightmare, is the fact that grains are the best for the brain. This is why every genius there's ever been was a largely grain-based vegetarian, which is perhaps not the best for you nutritionally or physically if you want to go be a weightlifter, but it certainly yields the most geniuses. Da Vinci, Plato. Okay, you go on with the Greek philosophers, Pythagoras. You can go on with the German philosophers. You can go on with, the list goes on and on. So Tesla, of course, being at the top of this list. But Da Vinci, did I already say Da Vinci?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also, just one more thing with the Giants and Space Force and The Office, that Aruba is known as the land of the giants, Aruba. And in the Space Force show, that's how they started off with that song by the Beach Boys, Aruba, da-na-na, oh, I want. But also in The Office, Andy comes back and Kevin does Aruba when he's playing the thing. So that's all I got.
Nice. We got over 750 people watching us live right now. Hello, everybody.
Smash that like button.
Hit that like button.
Hit that subscribe button.
Comment, share with your friends and family, right? Because we out here spreading the truth. You guys want to close up with anything in particular? You guys, this was great. This is awesome. I never thought in my podcasting career I'd be linking The Office and the occult together, and especially not with you two gentlemen here.
So I'll answer this one real quick. Why is the chewing of steak different from the chewing of grains? Well, people often complain about grains not being digested properly. Well, it's chewing in which grains are digested, at least initially. Grains and the carbohydrates, the gluten-based sugars in them, are digested largely in the mouth. Animals that digest just the seeds by themselves and the grain itself without being ground and baked. Of course, they have multiple chambered stomachs, like a chicken, right? Well, we don't eat the seeds and the grains bear off the stalk. So it's the chewing and the digestion of the saliva with the gluten in the mouth that also yields this brain and this blood sugar effect of chewing oxygen straight into the brain through the temples. That is why Jesus was so heavy on the bread and recommending bread. And he recommended fish. Well, that's an astrological thing as well. Bethlehem also means house of bread, so that's astrological as well. Virgo, born of a virgin. It's harvest time, the wheat, the white sign, the white deer, etc. But okay.
Yeah. The White Deer clan and the Timacuas was the highest level of society.
Yeah.
So
that's a good one.
That connection there. Boys, this is great. Doenut, you want to plug your stuff for the old world of Florida people, where they can find you? And
thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. I love both of your channels. This was fantastic. You can find me at Doenut, DOENUT.
.com, right?
DOE-NUT.com or just my website or YouTube Doenut. Yeah.
Hey. Narco?
Shell, yeah, man. We appreciate you coming on, Doenut. Thanks for delivering. Great info in there.
Thank you.
And everyone go subscribe if you haven't already to his stuff. Shout out to Juan, of course, my pestering, annoying co-host, just so terrible. But
I heard you making a homunculus when you turned off your camera. I heard the bubbling of the alchemical
Yeah, I
flask
was,
and stuff, bro.
dude, I was doing the God's work. I was taking one element, the next element,
Nice.
a little fire, earth,
Yeah.
water, air,
Right on,
and
dude.
yeah,
Well, appreciate you having us both, man. This is really fun. This is another one for the books, right? And hopefully we can do this again soon. But yeah, make sure to follow me, tjojp.com. I'm almost to 9,000 subscribers on YouTube, so everyone go subscribe. 8968. So I think I should be at 9K by a couple of days here.
So yeah, guys, go subscribe to the One-on-One podcast. I forget to ask because I know almost everyone, knows who you are already. But guys, go subscribe to the One-on-One podcast. Of course, let's get him to the double digits.
Let's go, baby.
Double digits, and then it's only up from there.
Yeah.
Or
Awesome,
rocket him up like Elon. Get him
To be with the aliens.
Let's get him elongated, guys.
Awesome, bro. Well, I appreciate you, dude. Hopefully, do this again.
For sure. Everyone, good night, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.
Do the wave, Narco. Do the wave, bro. Do the wave. Wave, man.